Hey guys, my name is Jason, the creator of I Am Legion, and welcome back for another quick update. So I just put out a pre-release 1.0 update 13 where the focus is going to be on human combat. So I wanted to do a quick recording to show you guys what the prompt was, to show you guys some of the bugs that are still in there potentially, and then also show you guys what kind of the reasoning for this logic change was. But essentially, as I Am Legion has been developing, we've got faster zombies, we've got more intense nights, we got all these different things, but the human AI have kind of stayed the same in the sense that they're not very aggressive, they're just kind of looking around, hanging out, and often you have this problem where they'll get spawned into the environment and then they'll just kind of stand there. Well, this should be fixed. So you should now have some pretty epic battles playing out inside the cities where these guys are no longer going to be just standing around waiting to get attacked. Instead, you should have pretty much active war zones going on around the cities. So a couple of features that I added was, for example, Bowmen will now try to use height to get above the battlefield so that they have a clear line of sight. So as you can see here, this guy will climb up on the car and they'll continue to try to get up higher so that they can get a clear picture. So or a clear line of sight. The other day I had a really exciting interaction where I was testing these guys out and I fell off a bridge and I was attacking these bowmen at the time, and they actually got up on the ledge and were shooting down into the water at me while I was swimming. And it was a moment that I haven't actually seen inside this game yet. And so I'm really hoping to continue to develop these more interesting human AIs to where they're actually fighting. The streets are now alive with a war that is actually should be going on inside this environment where the zombies are still slowly winning. So basically, the thing that I'm dealing with now and that I'm trying to balance is how do we make the PK slightly stronger. What do? We give them slightly more health than everybody else. These kind of things I'm continuing to look at to see how we can make this AI even more intense during the day and actually have a better chance and kind of explain or allow these outposts to survive. Because essentially, what will happen here is that these guys will get into a fight and they'll continue to fight until essentially the zombies will always inevitably win. It's a numbers game, so eventually the zombies will actually overtake this outpost. And so I'm trying to look into how can we allow the zombies to be basically taken out even easier by the humans, or something to help balance those streets out so that we're no longer getting just the streets are the end result of what a battle that did take place, but the zombies have now, there's just tons of bodies to loot essentially. So I'm still trying to look into this. Along with that is that balancing to the loot in general. So a problem that I ran into is like, okay, so now we can run up and we can now just start looting the dead kind of thing. So the streets are now covered in dead. Very easy to just go and kind of pick up all the loot afterwards. And so because of that, I'm still trying to find that balance of saying like, okay, maybe we can make it to where you can only loot, certain bodies, or the bodies disappear, the loot disappears faster for bodies that you haven't killed, or something like that, so that we can make this a little bit more challenging. So along with that, I've gone through and I've rebalanced some of the weather effects. So a few people mentioned the chrome effect that was happening. So I did try to go through and clean up that chrome effect on the weather. As you can see now, the weather is changing live, where it's becoming evening, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So some of the weather effects will come in, and basically what I've done is I've tried to keep basically I removed the shine completely, so no matter what the weather affects, you should get the same similar ground textures. The only difference is you should get water effects across them, so you'll get some shine, but you won't get like a glaringly chromy night like you were getting before, or not night rather, but just chromy fog and vents and that kind of thing. So hopefully those things will help clean up. So with these guys, there are a couple of bugs still happening. So right now, everybody looks like they're doing pretty good. There is this bug where essentially when they get confused about how to change their weapons. So they are able to currently change those weapons between distant or ranged weapons and melee weapons. And so you'll get these guys going and changing these weapons out as they're progressing through the city. Once the zombies getting closer, they will switch over to their melee weapon. But one of the things I've been noticing is that they'll end up with a glitch where they'll start to have an offset from their hand. So they'll be holding that melee weapon, but it'll be further away. And you can see here, this is actually a pretty exciting thing here, where you can start to see that they're following the noise around the city. They are getting up higher on certain objects, and so that does make it a little weird sometimes. I'm still trying to balance that out to see how we can change those things to where they're a little bit more knowledgeable about how they're getting on those objects. But essentially the idea here is that they've sensed that there are other bandits further away here, and so essentially they're going and getting ready to attack the next group. So they're no longer going to just sit underneath those different objects and not cooperate. They will call for backup, so they'll move together to where these guys will start to work together. It's not perfect by any means, but it is a work in progress to see these guys start to take an outpost or take an area and then continue to patrol the city and continue to move through the environments. And so hopefully this will help create little mini narratives of where you're helping the PK clear out the streets, you're helping them overtake certain objectives, but that should start to feel a little bit more alive. And the idea that I've got here that you can kind of see that it's still a work in progress is that they now band together. So after they've cleared an area, they'll no longer just kind of hang out by themselves further off. I'm giving them basic code that says, now that I've cleared an area, get back together, bunch together, group and power in numbers kind of thing. And I'm hoping that this will help start to create these more natural environments to where they're helping each other, they're starting to patrol together, and then when they're done, they start to band back together so that they're constantly searching the city and also trying to work together to overcome the objectives here so that they're not just kind of standing off by themselves. So you can see here that each one of these members has now heard that there is an enemy in the area. They've sensed that an ally is getting hit, and they're moving to where they can go help try to take out this bandit. And so they'll work together to try to take this guy out. And these kind of interactions, I mean, essentially the challenge here has been that there is no logic in the game really for these kind of systems. And so trying to create this logic or bring this logic to life has been kind of a challenge. Thank you guys so much for your bug reporting and letting me know how it's working, how it's not working. I really appreciate it. Basically, these guys were never meant to actually cross paths. They were only really meant to just hang out in these positions and then either stand up there and never come down, or eventually, they weren't even meant to really run into encounters, which is really frustrating. So now that the cities are filled with these different NPCs, it's now time to balance that out. So that's what's currently happening on this side, and it's getting dialed in slowly. You should start to see more interesting interactions. Just this right here is what I've been working so hard for, is them to just work together to understand that there's an enemy and then sweep in together to try to clear out that enemy. And so you'll see all sorts of interesting interactions inside the city, and I really hope you guys start to have these nice little mini narratives inside the story so that it's no longer just kind of an empty city where nothing's happening, but rather these guys are working together and trying to overcome whoever's coming up towards them. So there's also one additional bug to mention. So these guys do climb up, but they do occasionally get stuck. So I think this guy is probably a good example. Let's see if he's shaking. Basically, distance breaks this. It's where he's locking on, but essentially he's in cautious mode, so he's not actually firing yet. Once he feels threatened enough, he'll actually start firing. And this change comes with basically this alert system of saying, I'm sending them up high, but the challenge is, were they getting attacked before they went up high, or did they go up high after they got attacked the first time? If they went up high before they got attacked, you can sometimes get this result of where they don't understand that, you know, they are in a high threat, and it will take a second for their AI to start to actually interact and start to actually move forward. And so it will take a second for them to react sometime. But that's part of the natural code. If you go watch the vanilla AI, I promise you, you'll see a lot of these things built into the vanilla. It's just slowly trying to take that code and improve it. And you can see here, we've now had enemy PK from all the way across the map here. They are now actually moving further across the map, and then actually banding together. So we had guys from that PK tower actually shift all the way across the city here and continue to work together to clear out these enemies. And so you can get this banding of these guys joining together on the streets, and actually have outposts in areas start to become filled with more guys as you are moving around the space. So I'm also hoping that works out well with the bandit camps. Please let me know what you're seeing, and please let me know your feedback and any bugs that you're encountering. Slowly but surely, this is getting better, and I look forward to hearing from each of you. If you are not a member of the Discord, please jump on the Discord on the links below, and I look forward to hearing from each one of you guys. All right, thanks.